So switching gears here to the Western Conference game as Phoenix goes back to Dallas. Phoenix also struggled in Dallas, not to the same degree as Miami, I would say, or really, I'm just not reading into the results as much. I mean, the game three where Chris Paul and Devin Booker were blitzed relentlessly, they turned it over like crazy. And then they were unable, they were still kind of in the game though, down the stretch is the thing. And then game four, of course, CP3 fouls out, only plays 25 minutes, just a completely uncharacteristic meltdown from one of the savviest, best playoff performers we've had, and a playoff performer who recently has kind of dispelled that narrative that he can't get his team out of X round, and that's just bullshit. Frankly, I mean, circumstances have led to his teams falling early. Against some great teams like the Spurs team that went on to the championship, for example. But in his recent closeout games, CP3 has just been an absolute monster. 33-8 on the, of course, perfect 14 for 14 field goal shooting to close out NOLA this year. Last year, 41-8 on 16 for 24 field goal shooting against the Clippers, and 37-7 on 14 for 19 against the Nuggets to close out those series. So I think you can expect an efficient performance from Paul down the stretch here. He kind of chilled in game five because, I kind of theorized that the entire team would rally around him after his family was accosted in the stands in Dallas. And they did. And they went on to a 30-point win, a total balanced team effort. Really, it was about being physical in terms of getting the ball to Ayton, who went 9 for 13 from the field. Paul had 10 assists helping with that. Outscoring Dallas 44-24 in the paint, and then just closing out on their 3-point shooters, which was had to be a huge point of emphasis after that was basically how Dallas got all the offense in Dallas. They go 8 for 32 from three. That's 25%. They had a 9-16 assist to turnover ratio, which is just abysmal. And in the second half, in particular, 2 for 16 from three, just 34 points total. Dallas is not going to be able, if they can't score in the paint and they can't get these good looks from three, they're definitely in trouble. The right approach from the Suns to just let Luka Doncic and Brunson score in isolation, but not let Dallas get going with any assists, because Reggie Bullock scoreless, Dorian Finney-Smith 8 points, and I know we expect role players to struggle like that on the road and then bounce back at home. Yes, I do expect some positive regression there, but this was a 30-point loss. This was a total re-emphasis of we're better than you. We beat you 11 straight times coming into this series. We can beat you here. We can beat you there. So the Suns at -2, I feel pretty damn confident that they're going to close out this series. And I feel confident that Chris Paul is going to have a good game down the stretch. Also a live betting opportunity to consider. Look, in the second half, particularly in those two games in Dallas, Phoenix first went 4 for 15 from three, and shot 40% without CP3. That was actually in game four. In game three, or in both the games together, they had a free throw edge. They did turn the ball over a lot. They even turned the ball over a lot in the second half of this blowout win in Phoenix. And in the second half of the closeout game in New Orleans, they had 7 turnovers too, but they shot 70% from the field. So it's okay to toss the ball around a little bit as long as you're able to get back in transition. If you're going to shoot at that ridiculous high percentage, Phoenix was the most clutch team in the entire NBA. On the road, of course, 34 net rating on road games in the clutch. And they were 18-3 in those situations. You go to the playoffs, 2-0 in the clutch on the road, and a 155 offensive rating. I think Dallas, very impressive how they were in the clutch after the All-Star break, especially at home, but I don't think they're there yet where the point guard is in terms of having Booker on his side and having the advantage down low, frankly. I mean, Dwight Powell also scoreless in that game five. DeAndre Ayton just eating his lunch, and then Biyombo off the bench for plus 20. Monty Williams has the luxury of either bringing him or JaVale McGee out, depending what he wants to do in terms of his adjustments against this Dallas team that, really can't defend the paint too consistently with Powell, or they can defend it with Powell, but then their offense is going to suffer. But then they're going to have to go with Maxi Kleba to find that spark from three, to find that spacing that they need to consistently find scoring outside of Doncic and Brunson. And I don't know if they can do that. I'm not really messing with the total here, although the numbers are very strong in terms of Dallas just going under at home in terms of the pace and their defensive rating being 17 points better in these playoffs when they're at home, and them scoring 7 points per game fewer. But the key here is that they shoot 5% points worse from three. And so I think it's more of an outlier in game 4 that when they shot 45%, whatever it was, and now they shoot 25% on the road. I think we'll be somewhere in the middle there. And the magic number is probably about 35%. If they can't hit over that, I don't see them being able to beat this Suns team, which is one of the more confident teams, I feel like, closing out on the road. And there is evidence that Phoenix is probably going to regress a little bit in terms of their three-point shooting on the road, but they're not really a team that needs to shoot threes. And that's the thing we talked about coming into the series. That's why they had won so many consistently against Dallas, the number one three-point defense by percentage. But the Suns, they get their money in the mid-range and down low. And now that they got back to those basics and fed Ayton so much, scored so much in the paint, and defended the paint, they had 61 points. They still were 8 for 18 from three in that second half. And again, 8 turnovers, but it wasn't a big deal because they were getting such a high quality of shot there. So not going to be easy, but a 2-point spread, I do think you can back the Suns there. And I'm not messing with the total again, but I would look at some bonuses with CP3, would consider his props in a closeout game. As Dallas, their tendency to just blitz him, try to get the ball out of his hands, didn't really work in this game 5. The Suns are a balanced team. They're probably going to be heading back to the finals. We'll see. The way Golden State looked against Memphis, it wasn't pretty. So either way, I think they take care of business here, get the veterans some extra rest before they head into those conference finals. Trust Phoenix to close it out. And that is all the time we have for you in this one. Please stay tuned. The rest of the week, I will be bringing you solo videos. As I mentioned, Josh Lander out there getting married in California. And then after that, next week and his honeymoon, we will be back with a full slate of games through the conference finals and finals. So until you see you next, happy betting.